What is up, everybody? Taco Bandit here for another Taco Tuesday. Today I want to go over 10 things that I hate about this truck. Obviously I don't hate the truck, they may be some strong words, but there are some things about this truck that I don't particularly like and that I really think that could have been changed, or at least have the option to change. The first thing is the overall size of this truck. Now, the size of this truck for me is perfect, but it is a mid-size truck. Current mid-size trucks are about the size of full-size trucks from about the 70s or 80s, and they have about the same capabilities. And there's not really any truck that's smaller than this on the market. Now, obviously, you could get a 4-cylinder or whatever, but there's no small truck option or anything like that. And for this being the smallest truck really that you can buy, it's not really all that small. Another thing about these newer trucks is they're becoming increasingly harder to work on. Obviously the dealerships probably don't want you working on your vehicle as it is, because the more that you take your vehicle in, the more they get paid, and the less that is likely messed up. With that being said, though, with these new 2016 Tacomas, there's no transmission fluid dipstick. The rest of your fluids are relatively easy to get to and check, but it's impossible to tell what your transmission fluid level is. I realize this is the case with a lot of newer vehicles, but it is kind of frustrating if you plan on working on your vehicle, or you just want to check your fluids regularly or anything like that. Another thing that seems to bother a lot of other people is the limited seating positions. Now, Tacomas have always kind of set the same. You do kind of set, a lot of people say lower in the truck, and there's just not a whole lot of variation in the seating position. There's no seat height adjustment. There's no lever that you can kind of ratchet up and down to change how high you sit in the truck. You just can slide forward and back and recline, or less recline, or whatever you want to call that. And for the 2016 models, they do offer a telescoping and tilting wheel, but the telescoping wheel is approximately this far, about an inch. That's not really going to help you. Again, I said a lot of people do complain about this. It's not really a huge issue for me. I fit in this truck pretty well. I am about 6 feet tall and have kind of abnormally long limbs, legs and arms and that sort of thing. But, I'm really comfortable in this truck, and that's not really an issue for me. There's also a lack of a true base model. Now, I realize your SR and your SR5s are not the fanciest things, and you can get them with just a plain black plastic bumper, as a work truck or whatever. But the interiors are still really pretty nice. You get a touchscreen, I think, with every single Tacoma. They're not all the big screen that I have. It's a little bit more basic than that, but I believe every single truck has a touchscreen. And with the last trucks, up until last year, navigation was an option, but there was also a really basic radio, just your AM, FM, and CD player. And I think if that was still available, some people may elect that. Not everyone needs Bluetooth capability, and you don't necessarily need an iPad in the middle of your truck. And that would also save price when you're trying to spec out a newer truck. Another thing that is heavily advertised in this truck is the wireless charging. A lot of phones and your electronic devices do wirelessly charge, and it is kind of a neat feature. You can just lay your object on there and press the button so that the wireless charging is turned on, and it'll charge as you're driving to your destination. You don't have to worry about the wires and all like that. Now, there's kind of two issues with that. One, this is a really neat technology, but it's not super efficient. It's very, very slow to charge anything with wireless charging. The other issue I have with it is my phone doesn't wirelessly charge. So it is a neat option. More than likely my next phone will have that, but it's just kind of frustrating that I do have that technology and can't utilize it. And I realize that's not really the truck's fault, it's more my fault, but I do have a pretty new phone. I have an HTC, and it just does not charge in the truck, and I don't believe iPhones would either. I believe the only phone that would is the newer Samsung phones. Now, I am a little bit of a neat freak, and the black interior in this truck absolutely drives me nuts. You know, between the screen and you know, your black dash, your black door panels, and all like that, it really seems to attract a lot of dust. Before I got these seat covers, the really dark kind of blackish gray seats really attracted a lot of, you know, dust, deodorant, whatever, and it's just really frustrating. You know, I like to keep all my stuff fairly nice and, you know, take care of it and all like that, and that just absolutely drove me nuts. With these Carhartt seat covers, it's not nearly as bad and doesn't bother me quite as much, but you know, the black interior for the TRD models is, I believe, the only option. It'd be nice to at least have a little bit of variation. Another thing that really aggravates me about this truck is that my radio keeps resetting. Again, it's not all the time, and I do have another video on this kind of explaining what's going on. But, you know, a lot of these trucks are in the market now, and they're really selling well, and you would think that there'd be some kind of answer as to what's going on. This truck has been out for probably 8 months now, I believe, and you know, the 2017s will be coming out before too long. But you know, it'd really be nice if somebody could figure out how to make this stop happening. You know, whether it's a programming issue or whether it's something that we as the users are doing wrong. You know, I don't really care, and I'm not asking for a whole new head unit or anything like that, but it is really frustrating that I and everyone else has to keep going through this. And again, it doesn't happen every single time, but it seems like when it does happen, it happens time and time and time again, and it's just really frustrating. That was a police officer and a Polaris Ranger, which is interesting. And there's another police officer, and there's another police officer, many police officers. Another thing that is sort of frustrating and, you know, not really imperative to the truck at all, but in the second gen Tacomas, your two cup holders here in the center were big enough to hold a 32-ounce Gatorade bottle. Currently, in the third generation Tacomas, a 32-ounce Gatorade bottle or Powerade bottle or whatever does not fit very well in the cup holders. You know, most people probably would never notice that, and again, it's really not that big of a deal. But when you have a 32-ounce Powerade bottle or Gatorade bottle, I'm not really sure what to do with it. I normally put it in my passenger seat or my passenger seat footwell, and that's just kind of annoying. But again, you know, how often do you really drink a 32-ounce Gatorade? The final thing I have to say about this truck is the fact that a lot of people have Tacomas. You know, this could be a good thing because, you know, the knowledge is out there to work on these things, and the aftermarket following is good. The issue I have with it is they're not quite as special as I believe they could be. Hang on, we got a bump here. So, you know, there's not a whole lot of trucks out right now that have this amount of off-road capability and that sort of thing. Not a whole lot of trucks have a locker and you know, something equivalent to crawl control, or really just the off-road package of this truck, you know, with the Bilstein shocks and everything else. But when you see a TRD off-road, no one thinks it's a neat truck. You know, it's just another TRD off-road, and that's kind of frustrating. You know, I love my truck, and I wouldn't trade it for anything, but I think my truck's kind of special, and I you know, think it's kind of neat. And when I see other TRD models, I always, you know, want to see what it is, and, you know, I'm interested in it. But there's no real visual differentiation, or you know, I don't think most people really do that or really care. The second part of that issue is that there are so many Tacomas, but no one waves or anything. You know, there's a million Jeeps out there, and all Jeepers wave to one another. Now, me being, I guess, the dork that I am, I try to wave at about every other Tacoma, and I, you know, count as I'm coming to work, away from work, and you know, back and forth to school and that sort of thing. And if I get one or two wave backs, I'm doing really well. I'm not sure if people that drive Tacomas just aren't looking out for one another, or you know, whatever's going on, or they just don't care. But it would be kind of cool if we did have that Jeep-like culture, you know, where everyone will wave and, you know, compliment you on your truck and that sort of thing. And I just think that'd be really neat. So that's just my take on the 3rd generation Tacoma. You know, there are some things that I'm not entirely bothered about with this truck, but overall it is a really great truck, and you know, I think I definitely made the right decision, and I love it a lot. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Again, these are just my opinions. Don't start a battle in the comments saying that I'm wrong and, you know, all like that. I mean, you're entitled to your opinion as well, and, you know, I'd like to hear it, but, you know, don't. I mean, the Ridgeline video has more thumbs downs right now than it does thumbs ups, and, you know, I wasn't trying to start a war here. I was just trying to share my opinions. But thank you all very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.